All right, well, we are getting started here. I'm a little bit early. I know I said on my page here that we'd be going live at 9:30, so I'm a little bit early, but that's okay. We got a lot to talk about, and I know that people are pretty nervous about the weather tomorrow, and for good reason. So I'm going to be on here a little bit early. I'm going to have a chance to try to um, answer some questions that you guys have. As you can see, I'm not dressed yet for the newscast, but I'll get that way here in a minute. But like I say, I did want to take the time here to kind of talk to you a bit in detail about tomorrow. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there's been a significant tornado outbreak this afternoon and tonight in the Midwest. Just the area on the east side of Des Moines, excuse me, the area on the west side of Omaha, Nebraska. Looks like a upper end EF4, EF5 kind of tornado over that way. Just totally obliterated some of those areas up that way. Massive tornado. That's the same system that pushed through here last night. We got saved because it went through at the wrong time of the day. It went through in the middle of the night. We had a cap in place, but that had a lot of soupy moisture. It pushed up there into Iowa and into Nebraska today, and it just wound up going bonkers, producing a lot in the way of severe weather. So thankfully, that didn't play out for them. I mean, for us, but unfortunately, it did play out for them. I don't have any. And a matter of fact, the latest I saw, there was a tornado going through Des Moines, Iowa, as well. So a lot going on here. So whenever I am talking about severe weather, oftentimes I try to keep things on a level to where I don't have to pump up or over exaggerate severe weather, and there's a reason why I do that. It's actually because of days like today. Because the more and more you do that, the less and less, most of the time they don't happen. The more and more that you do that, the less people start paying attention to it. So when something like today really happens, then all of a sudden it's the whole cry wolf syndrome. So that's a big part of the reason why I don't do it. So, but unfortunately, the way the weather pattern looks tomorrow, I'm going to have to push that button a little bit harder than I normally would. So I want you to take me a little more seriously. Well, I hope you always take me seriously, but I want you to take tomorrow more seriously than you normally would. There are some question marks in regards to a couple things. There are some things that could prevent this from being a bigger severe weather event than what I'm forecasting. Let's hope that that happens. I will not be upset if we're a little off on this one. But the reason why I have to be a little more pushy with this one is it has a really high ceiling. That means the potential is there for some really significant storms tomorrow. And it looks like we're going to see a couple of waves of storms tomorrow, too. We'll get some in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening, and some at night. So we're pretty much going to be under the gun most of the day tomorrow. So all severe weather modes are going to be possible. In fact, you see something that I don't typically do very often. I went high threat. I think that the Storm Prediction Center will probably increase their threat. I don't know that for certain, but I would think that they would. So here's what I've done here. Now again, we're going to have a couple of waves of storms, but this is the first time in a long time that I've added a little pink icon there. This is my highest threat area. I think the whole area could see severe weather at some point between tomorrow morning and tomorrow night. Even the red area, you have a chance to see some pretty significant severe weather too. But it looks like and I debated on doing this. I almost left out the little pink area, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it because I just feel pretty confident that there's going to be quite a bit of storminess in these areas. So as of right now, I do think that significant severe weather is a good likelihood over most of our area. We're talking about North Texas, southern Oklahoma, and then that will probably extend up into central and northern Oklahoma, maybe even northeastern Oklahoma, maybe over to I-35, places like Ardmore, Oklahoma City, those areas. But there just seems to be a bit of a signal that's been showing up here with a lot of our different computer models that there could be a particularly higher threat right in this area for supercells interacting with a real volatile atmosphere. So let's hope that that doesn't happen, but unfortunately it would include Lawton, Wichita Falls, all places in between, Frederick, Vernon, maybe Seymour, Archer City, Henrietta, Bowie, Nacona, and then maybe even as far south as Jacksboro, and then it would kind of go up here to Chickasha, maybe over towards Ardmore and Oklahoma City. So This is what I see right now. But, you know, when we get into a severe weather situation, oftentimes things change the day of. And there are some elements that could cause this to reshape, some elements that may try to happen. I'm going to try to explain all those to you here in a few minutes. There's some elements that may try to happen tomorrow that may keep this from getting too out of hand. But like I say, the atmosphere is going to be right for it. We've got a lot of juice coming in. We've got a real strong storm system coming in. We have a lot of jet stream energy at not only the high altitudes, but also at the low levels. And there's going to be a lot of turn to the atmosphere. And that's why I'm thinking tomorrow that if we get supercell thunderstorms that interact with that, they could easily produce all severe weather hazards. So tomorrow night, you know, we see more of a line of storms, and then you can start seeing some flooding with that. But we're going to be under the gun. This is going to be a pretty long day on Saturday. So let's get to it. Let's talk about what's going on. So tonight, well, actually, we had that little front that pushed through last night, and the evening and the afternoon has been wonderful. These are dew point temperatures, and with dew points, we measure the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. It's measuring water vapor, and as moisture evaporates, it becomes water vapor, and it's known as dew point. The higher the number, the more sticky, the more tropical feeling it is outside. And if you look at these numbers here, you got some 50s and even 30s back off to the west. So it is really nice west of this area here. But look at the direction these arrows are coming from. Our storm system, number 2, is already approaching from the west. So you're seeing southeasterly winds pull this higher moisture content to the west now. Look at Bowie at 69. See, these are really high dew point temperatures, up close to 70. So while it's nice now, after midnight towards morning, these dew point temperatures are going to go up drastically, and it's going to be really muggy first thing in the morning. In fact, this moisture will probably pull all the way over into our western counties by morning. In fact, you'll probably see a bit of a dry line try to take shape over in this area. So you look for the humidity to go up. So this is where the source, the fuel for everything is coming together just east of us here. So with that said, we got two rounds of storms heading our way. Or actually, I gotta say multiple rounds cutting our way. The first action gets going in the morning. Now, I don't know that everybody sees a storm in the morning, but if you do get a storm in the morning, hail is going to be your main concern, maybe some gusty winds and some downpours. I don't know that the tornado threat is going to be particularly high with those, but you can't rule it out. If some of those storms in the morning, and I've seen this happen before, you know, they're just kind of marginally severe, but oftentimes what happens is they'll continue to thrive throughout the day, and then as it gets later in the day, gets into the afternoon, you get a little sunshine, daytime heating, the instability goes up, and then all of a sudden those storms begin to intensify, and they become severe, and they become tornado producers, and that could happen maybe with some of those up there in Oklahoma. Now, the second wave, or the next wave that comes through is the wave that we're more concerned with, is a Saturday afternoon and night, especially late afternoon and evening. That's the time frame where if we get supercell thunderstorms, and it looks like we will, they'll have the highest threat for tornadoes, hail, and strong wind gusts, and especially once we get the line going later on tomorrow night, strong wind gusts and flooding are going to be a possibility. So all severe weather. It's been a long time since I've said, as a matter of fact, in my time here, I can't remember many times where I've actually said, hey, we got the higher threat for all severe weather hazards tomorrow. Most of the time, it's somewhere north of us, east of us, south of us, west, but tomorrow looks like it could be right on top of us. So let's take a look at this is the HRRR computer model. Now, this is just one computer model, and I will warn you that sometimes the HRRR will what's called over-convect. It'll put too many storms out there. But our weather information has been very consistent, and I'm very convinced that first thing tomorrow morning, we're going to see thunderstorms develop on that retreating dry line. It's going to be somewhere over in here. A little disturbance kicks out, and you're going to see some storms pop up, and then these storms are going to move in this direction. Now watch what happens with these. Let's put this in motion. There's your first little wave, kind of up there into Oklahoma. You might see some more trying to pop up there, and maybe even to parts of northwest Texas. These will be marginally severe, mostly hail producers. But as we get into the afternoon, here we are lunchtime, notice more trying to pop up. So now you're starting to get that instability, or that cape, that storm energy starting to build up, and you're beginning to see the wind shear increase some now too. So even by late morning and early afternoon, if these storms can persist, they may wind up becoming severe, and they too could be some pretty significant severe storms. I still think your threat mainly with these storms is wind and hail, but there still could be a lower end tornado threat with these too. So let's continue. and we're going to get into the early afternoon, and any of these could become supercells. And again, mostly a hail threat with these, but there could be a low wind tornado threat too. Now, I also want to start talking about something here too that could be a bit of a fly in the ointment, I think the word is. But here we are in the afternoon, and at least the HRRR computer model is developing some supercells, kind of in the open warm sector. These are the earlier storms, and they're supercells, and they could start producing some tornadoes up here in central Oklahoma. But look at this, we're starting to see supercells perhaps down here into North Texas now. And at this point in time, you've got plenty of instability, and you've got stronger low-level wind shear. You've got a lot of twisting motions taking place in here. But remember I said there could be a fly in the ointment that could help save us. And that would perhaps be what happens in this area here. Usually, and more times than not, if you get some type of a storm complex that forms in this area, it'll disrupt the flow in the atmosphere, and it'll gobble up a good bit of the energy. So these supercells in what would be a volatile atmosphere wouldn't have as much to work with in the late afternoon and evening hours. They wouldn't have the same amount of energy. They wouldn't have the same atmosphere. So while they would still be severe, I don't know that the tornado threat would be as high if you have a complex of storms off to the south and south. It's not, of course, it's still there, but it may not be as high as you have that complex of storms to the southeast. And the HRRR model is doing that. It's putting some heavy storms, and quite a bit of them, down towards Bridgeport and over the Metroplex. I just can't remember hardly any times in my career where you have a big, large complex of storms and you're getting tornadic supercells on the backside of it. It has a tendency to rob the moisture and the instability in the atmosphere. So these storms just don't have as much atmosphere to work with. But even with that said, the models are breaking out supercells north of that. And as long as this here doesn't screw the atmosphere up, and it very well could, then these are going to be some pretty strong thunderstorms there. Now, if they remain supercells during this time frame, and they still have that energy to work with, these could be tornado producers, because there's a lot of wind shear. All of these could be tornado producers here, if that were to work out. But again, this could save us. Let's hope that happens. I mean, you can see even as of 10 o'clock, you've got supercells moving through Wichita Falls. You got them over there in parts of Jefferson County, Stevens County. But watch what happens later on. You still got some supercells even going into later tomorrow night, but you start to see more clusters and lines of storms. And that line of storms there would be a wind producer with what you call QLCS type tornadoes. It'd be a line echo wave pattern type tornado, weaker but still there. But that line produces strong wind gusts and perhaps some flooding rains. So as you can see, several waves. There are some uncertainties. And, and it's the uncertain part with those storms over here that made me kind of question putting a little bit of a higher threat of severe weather out. Because again, if that happens, that could perhaps cool the atmosphere some and would prevent the larger tornado event from happening. But if that doesn't show up, and a lot of our computer models do not have that, remember I said that sometimes the HRRR will overconvect. If that doesn't happen there, then watch out. Tomorrow afternoon and evening with these supercells in North Texas, southern Oklahoma, will be nasty. Will be. I didn't say it would be. Could be. I said they would be nasty. Let's show you the significant tornado parameters for tomorrow. Here we are tonight. And what this basically is here is this is a model-derived product. It's called significant tornado parameter. And what it does is it's looking at an atmosphere that would be favorable for storms, and mostly in the form of supercells that interacted with it to produce tornadoes. If you can get supercells to interact with this environment, they can produce tornadoes. And sometimes the higher the number that shows up, the more significant that tornado could be. I mean, it's taking into account the storm energy, it's taking into account the cap, it's taking into account the wind shear in the atmosphere, it's taking into account the storm level bases. And with high moisture content in the area, your storm bases will be lower too. It's called the lower LCL levels, and that too will help facilitate these storms. So if you put this in motion, yeah, you do see a more tornado-enriched environment tonight develop, but there's no storms here to interact with that. And then as you head towards tomorrow morning, you see how it begins to kind of wane some. So those storms early on don't have a lot of a tornado environment to work with. But as you get into the afternoon, and especially the evening, You see that starting to change a bit. Now, I will say that this is off of the HRRR model. And what you see here, you don't see a real strong SIG-TOR value over us because it has this larger complex of storms to the southeast. So that's trying to gobble up some of that energy or that instability. But still, it's enough there to produce something. So this scenario would be a better scenario for us. But again, I'll say that other convective models that we look at, which we look at them all, don't have this, and they have a higher SIG-TOR value over us. But I'm a big believer in that HRRR model, and if that happens, I will be very glad to say, hey, I was wrong. But like I say, I'm saying these things. You can see how it really intensifies tomorrow night. Look at that. You start seeing some of these purples and whites there too. Scoring too fast, I'm sorry. So you can see any storms that can interact in that. They just got a lot to work with. And even though it doesn't show this over Wichita Falls, that's because it has storms over us. If the storms are not as widespread, they'll be there too. And you'll see these widespread purples and white colors. But that indicates really high SIG-TOR values. That means there's a lot of stuff in the atmosphere for the storms to ingest, these updrafts to ingest, plenty of energy. They can ingest lots of what we call storm relative helicity, that's twist in the atmosphere that can help these storms more easily spin tornadoes down to the Earth's surface. And if everything is right for it, then they can be potentially longer lasting and they have a chance to become stronger. Now, I'm not saying all this to scare you at all. You know me, I do not hype up weather, but I just feel that there's a need for me to at least push the button a little bit more this time. And I'm not doing this to scare you, I'm just doing it to prepare you. It is Saturday. I know you're weather conscious, I know you're weather aware, I know you're a weather alert, and I don't want you to be scared about this, but I just want you to know that the potential does exist for some pretty gnarly weather over us tomorrow. So let's take a look here at some of the people asking asking questions here. I'll try to see what I can do. I don't have a whole lot of time here. I wish I'd have gone live sooner. I don't have a whole lot of time here to answer questions. I got to get ready for the newscast here in a minute. So I'm sorry. Again, I hate that the storm anxiety is screaming for you. Let's hope that the best case scenario works out and we don't get it. Hopefully not. So yeah, there were some in Central Texas today, but nothing like they had in Nebraska and Iowa. Oh, just terrible up there, man. Terrible. Reed does, see, that's my problem with Reed, Corey, is he screams bloody murder so much and he's wrong so much that he finally gets one right today. And I'm just afraid people are going to start, ignoring him. Thanks, Paul, and I'm glad you guys are safe up there in Des Moines tonight. Well, I know that parts of Des Moines got hit, but I'm glad that you guys, it missed out on you guys there on the west side of Des Moines. Like I say, I'm hoping I'm wrong. And again, Tina, the potential is there. The ceiling is high, and that's why I'm doing it. The potential is there. Somebody asked about Bernie. I kind of got you kind of in that on the verge there of kind of the red pink because some of our weather, especially the NAM computer model, had some supercells over you. So that's why I've got you kind of there. It's going to be close call for Vernon. You're kind of in that area too, though. So. Yeah, it's retreating to the west fast, James, really fast now. I don't think so, Ty. I mean, up north, the scenario was just different there up north. They were right on it was called the triple point. There was a warm front, and those storms had a lot of what we call storm relative helicity to ingest on that warm front. They basically sucked that warm front up, and that's what produced those big tornadoes up there today. So different scenario there than here. I mean, yes, we could see some big tornadoes down our way, but I don't think it's going to be quite as violent as what they saw up north. That's pretty rare to see that type of an event. Been a long time since we've seen one like that in the Plain States, honestly. That's somebody you'd have to, Linda, you'd have to ask somebody about that. I don't know. I can't give you an answer on why Wichita Falls doesn't have storm shelters. Yeah, I do expect tornado watches tomorrow for sure. I think that the area will be under some type of a watch most of the day tomorrow. It may be severe thunderstorm early on, transitioning to tornado watch, but there just could be tornado watches all day. It does look, we are in that pink area, Aaron, so it does look like it potentially could be bad here. Could be. I'm concerned about it enough to be able to pump it up a little bit. There is a cap, there's a little bit of a cap in place tomorrow, but not much. Not enough to prevent this from happening. You know, if anything, there won't be enough of a cap, and you'll get too many storms early on, Doug, and that would help us out. That would keep this from being a more significant event. You know, I'll be keeping you guys updated. We'll be around here tomorrow. We've got somebody. We're all of us are on call all day tomorrow. So I don't think so. After your first round of storms, I don't think so. I mean, you're not in the clear until late tomorrow night. Honestly, like I say, you can't just go on what the model says. You have to know the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is there too. Until that dry line shifts east or a cold front pushes through, Vernon is in on it, Tanya. Tomorrow could be a PDS kind of day, Miranda, especially if we don't see the atmosphere get totally worked over. And Vernon could see tornadoes tomorrow. It's possible, Deborah. There's no sense to have a panic attack, Brittany. Please don't do that. I'll try to do that. I can't do it. I don't have time to do it now, but I could. Thank you. I appreciate it there, Gary. Could pick up a couple more inches, and that could lead to flooding there, Colby. There could be some storms west or north of you or even close to you at 8 a.m., but I think that the majority of it will probably come in later on in the day. I don't, like I say, Sea Branch, the Nebraska, that would be, I'm not going to say that's going to happen, but we could see, some rough stuff down our way too. DFW could get clobbered, but if that situation plays out, that would be more of just a heavy rain event and hail and that kind of stuff, and just kind of spin up type things, Ben. It wouldn't be as violent as with supercells. I think the first part of the day might be okay for the air show. It's the afternoon that you have to worry about. And Chuck, again, there is a little cap, but not enough to prevent it from happening. No, the Iowa Park is not in the clear at 5 to 7. Alney's in on this too. Burke's in on it. Yes, you will probably get rain in Frederick. I will probably be live a lot tomorrow, probably a lot of the day. You're going to be in the bullseye if you head into Stillwater tomorrow, Becky. You're going to be getting hit with it a lot of tomorrow. Pretty bad. I am concerned. Dana. That's right. Walters, Oklahoma is in on this. Could be some excitement in Monte County, perhaps. We'll watch. There's just the storm center is kicking out at the right time. So with the storm system, with that, Christopher wants to know why is the cap being reduced this time around. It's because you've got a lot of tropical moisture. Dew point's up close to 70. And this go round, the main storm system itself is kicking out at the right time, late afternoon and early evening, and that brings with it colder air aloft, so it weakens the cap some and produces a stronger lift. So you get storms and you don't get as much of a cap. A little cap a small cap actually keeps a lot of storms from forming at one time. As a storm chaser, you want a little cap. You don't want no cap at all as a storm chaser, but for somebody that doesn't want it like we do, we would love to have a strong cap, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case this time. Yeah, Lawton's in on it too, so keep a look on that. Heather versus Heather, we know more early. Yeah, we will. We'll have more model data to look at there for sure. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. I am going to have to go, so I'm going to jump off here now, and I'll have more. I may try to do another update before I leave here tonight, but just to answer some questions. But I got to jump off so I can get dressed. Y'all watch the news here coming up tonight at 10 o'clock.